Hi and welcome. Today we're going to take a quick walkthrough of how to build a mobile web enterprise application with TD Mobile from Gupta Technologies. The scope of this video is an introduction to show just how easy TD Mobile can create cross-channel, that is cross-browser and cross-platform web applications that use HTML5, JavaScript, and CSS without having to know the intricacies of each of these technologies. To start, let's look at a sample application created with TD Mobile that accesses a database that has company, employee, and product information. If we take the launch page here, select the companies button, we're brought to a list of companies sorted by the company name, as well as having a link to access a company phone number. On a mobile device, that link would open the native phone dialer. We can filter the records by simply typing in a portion of the company name, and only those that apply will be presented. We can remove that filter and we can navigate back to our launch page. With that in mind, let's construct the companies page with inside TD Mobile. If we switch to the TD Mobile IDE, you'll notice that we're organized by ribbon bars, one for the project, whether compiling, running, or publishing, or debugging your application, one for the outline for working with the server and client code portion of the application, as well as the layout for your presentation layer of your application. Other things to note within the IDE are the application is organized in a tree structure where you can see the client and server resources as well as the pages that you're working on. There's also a property panel that is either floating or dockable. And let's begin by constructing our company page. Let's change our heading, have a list of companies, and now let's do our layout of our phone. One thing to note is that if we were also going to have this work on a tablet or present data differently on a tablet, we can add a tablet layout as well. And to navigate between those, you use the tabs beneath the layout to toggle between the phone and tablet as well as access the outline. Within the phone layout, let's add a list view control to show multiple records at a time, and inside there we'll do a layout grid to easily organize our data. With inside that layout grid, we will place a text field to show the company name and a link control to show the phone number. That link control we'll change to show it as a phone, or it's typed to be a phone, so that when it's selected it will open up the dialer on the mobile device. Now that we have our presentation portion for our company's form, we can preview it and see what it will look like on the device. We will now switch over to the server resources where we want to do a couple of things to get data to be fed to our layout. We first want to create a connection. We'll go ahead and rename this. With inside this connection, we can decide where our data is coming from, whether that's an SQL data source, an XML representation of our data, a custom data source, or no SQL database such as Mongo, which is supplied with TD Mobile. Our database name is named Island, and now we have the ability to get to our database. Now that we have a connection to our database, let's create a class that represents a table or document inside that database. We will add a new class, add a data class because we want to access the database. We will rename that class companies, or class company. And inside there, we want to add variables that will represent the values in the table. So we have a company ID, a company name, and a company phone number. Now the names I've chosen here are not the exact names in the database itself from inside the table, so I need to map these to the actual names. That's our tie to the database. So for the name itself for the table, it's company. For the ID, it is company ID. For the company name, and for the phone number, it is simply phone. The one last part I'll do in this data class is for the company ID, I will mark it as an identity field, which means that that value uniquely identifies a row in this table. So now we have our connection. We have our data class to represent the table in the database. Let's go to the client side, to the page itself, and go to the outline. Well, you'll note that we have both the client and server sections, and on the client side, we have the items we created. Also on the client, we want to go and create bindings, variables that will feed the presentation, the contents of the page itself. We'll create an array of companies. We mark it as an array by simply using a bracket, asterisk, bracket notation. We will also create another binding of the same company type, just called company. This is for when a user selects an item in the list itself. So we have access to this specific company. So now we have the client side variables, the bindings. On the server side, we want to go and create an operation to go retrieve the records from the database. We'll create a data operation to get companies. Inside that operation, we'll say use the connection island. We are going to browse compared to either editing, adding, or deleting a specific row. We'll take the records retrieved from this data operation and pass them to the client to the company array. While we're here, we will say that we're going to sort on the company name. So now we have data, we have the client-side portion, we need to join those two together. The way we want to do this is by using an event at the page level. The components themselves have their individual events. At the page, we want to invoke an operation when the page is created. So we will choose the doGetCompanies data operation, and now the page will load, execute the data operation, that will retrieve the records from the database and feed them to the array on the client-side binding. On the phone layout, we have just a few more steps to do before we can run the page. On the list view control, we can select the allow filtering option and then choose the filter by and choose our background text field, which is our company name. We'll also go ahead and divide the data by the background text 1 for the company name. The data to feed the list view is in the binding section. We can choose the list source bind to be the company array that has the multiple companies in it. And then for a single selected company, we'll choose the company that we declared in the outline. So the last part is to tie the text field to the company name out of the array and the phone number to the phone number from the array. Our final step to run is to make sure that on the project tab that the default page is page 1, which is our single page here. We now can press the Go button that will compile and run the application. Note that the company information comes up as it did in the demo application, sorted and grouped by the company name, and that the phone number is also available to click through as a link to open the native phone dialer. That's it. We've now constructed a TD Mobile application, and there are many more resources available for extending applications like this, including using the .NET-based SAL language within TD Mobile. See the samples shipped with TD Mobile as well as the online resources. Thank you much, and we appreciate your time.